After jet-setting Baron Zemo into a space warp, Captain America should have found peace. But the past never truly lets go. Haunted by visions of Baron Zemo at every turn, Cap finds himself tormented by guilt, unable to shake the feeling that justice was never done. But as it turns out, his instincts weren't wrong, because somewhere between the 6th and 7th dimensions, Baron Zemo still lived. Inside his ship, floating in this cosmic limbo, Zemo and his Asgardian allies, the Enchantress and the Executioner, bided their time until they made their return back to Earth. The Enchantress began to weave her magic, uttering an ancient spell that pulls their ship through the veil of space and time, returning them to Earth's dimension. Zemo pilots the ship towards the vast Amazon jungle, to a hidden fortress he has used for years, away from Captain America's prying eyes. There, surrounded by his allies, Baron Zemo reveals a new plan. A plan to destroy Captain America, and with him, the Avengers. Weeks later, in New York, a disgraced industrialist named Simon Williams stands trial for embezzlement, a once proud inventor, now condemned by his own failures. Before his sentencing can even finish, two strange figures arrive, the Enchantress and the Executioner. They pay his bail and promise him revenge. Revenge against Tony Stark and the man inside the Iron Man armor. They tell him to follow them to South America, and Simon, broken and desperate, agrees. At Zemo's hidden base, the trio welcomes Simon into a world of science and sorcery. Baron Zemo stands before a massive machine, one designed for a single purpose, to make a man greater than man. Simon Williams is placed within it, and as the machine roars to life, ionic rays flood his body. His cells expand, his muscles fortify, and his very biology begins to change. When he awakens, he is no longer Simon Williams. He is something new, something powerful. Baron Zemo looks upon his creation and names him Wonder Man. They clothe him in red and green, test his new powers, and find that his strength rivals Giant Man. His fists match Thor's hammer, and his skin is bulletproof. Zemo smiles. This new Wonder Man will destroy the Avengers from within. But the Executioner worries. What if Wonder Man becomes too powerful? Zemo assures him that the same ionic rays that granted him life will also take it away in 1 week's time. His obedience is guaranteed, or he dies. And so, their plan begins. A bank robbery in New York draws the attention of the Avengers. Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, Giant Man, and the Wasp assemble to fight Zemo's trio. But when all seems lost, a mysterious man joins the battle. He defeats the villains one by one, Zemo, Enchantress, and the Executioner. When the dust settles, he introduces himself as Wonder Man. He claims he wants to join the Avengers, to fight for good. Cap, skeptic at his sudden appearance and story, starts to question him. Wonder Man says he escaped from Zemo's experiments, but his story is not one that the Avengers are buying. Zemo, watching through hidden cameras in Wonder Man's visor, begins to worry. But before the Avengers can turn him away, Enchantress casts a subtle spell, one that convinces Captain America that Wonder Man is dying from a rare disease. Moved by compassion, the Avengers promise to find him a cure. Days later, Wonder Man is summoned back to Zemo's lair in South America, this time with the Wasp taken captive. He is ordered to lure the Avengers into a trap. When the Avengers arrive, chaos erupts. Thor is ambushed and thrown into a pit, cut off from his hammer. Giant Man is crushed like an insect. One by one, Earth's mightiest heroes fall. Zemo orders their execution, but Wonder Man hesitates. He remembers their kindness, their willingness to help him, even as a stranger. His guilt builds until he can take no more. With a roar, he turns against his masters. He frees Thor, who summons his hammer once more. The Avengers rise again. As Zemo, Enchantress, and Executioner flee, the Avengers get around Wonder Man, who lies dying. With his final breath, Simon Williams whispers, "Every man dreams of doing one noble thing in his life. Now I can die, knowing I didn't live in vain." And with that, Wonder Man is gone. But the story was not over. As time would move on, his death would awaken a new terror. The Grim Reaper, Wonder Man's own brother, believed the Avengers were to blame for Simon's death. He hunted them one by one, determined to avenge him. He might have succeeded, if not for the intervention of the Black Panther. No one could have foreseen how Wonder Man's story would shape, how his death would bring forth a new villain to face the Avengers, and then from his ashes would another hero be reborn in an entirely new form. Because from his memories, from his mind itself, another hero was made. A new figure appeared in the skies, neither man nor machine, a synthezoid. He called himself the Vision. When he first arrived, he attacked without warning. The Wasp and Giant Man were his first targets, but before long, the Avengers subdued him and brought him to their headquarters, hoping to learn who or what he truly was. As Iron Man and the others began to analyze him, the Vision awoke. But instead of peace, there was rage. He lashed out violently, his confusion overwhelming his programming. Only when his fury subsided did fragments of memory began to return, memories not of his own. He remembered a voice, Ultron's voice, commands, hatred, a purpose to destroy the Avengers. Yet beneath those commands were also emotions, human emotions, sorrow, love, fear, feelings that could have not come from Ultron. The Vision's creation was a mystery to the Avengers, but it did not take long for the truth to be revealed, as we soon learned that Iron Man and Giant Man had once recorded the brain patterns of a dying Wonder Man, preserving the consciousness of Simon Williams before his death. Ultron, in his twisted genius, had stolen that data and used it to build the Vision. So, in a way, the Vision was Wonder Man, reborn, a man's mind given new form, and that was how Simon Williams lived again. As time would move on, though, that legacy would unexpectedly take human form once again. At a public event unveiling a new Avengers lineup, a massive metal container was delivered to Avengers Mansion. Before anyone could even react, it burst open. From inside, a figure emerged, dressed in red and green, moving about with confusion and uncertainty. It was him, Wonder Man. Alive, whole, human. And as he pointed an accusing finger at the Vision, he shouted, "He stole my mind!" Then he collapsed. The Avengers rushed him to their lab. Tests confirmed the impossible. Simon Williams was alive. Except his mind, his memories, were all gone. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, Avenger and wife to the Vision, sought to help him and ease his guilt by understanding what had brought Wonder Man back. Her magic traced the energy to a dark place in New Orleans. She saw flashes of robed figures, chanting, a ritual of resurrection, voodoo. The Avengers traveled to the French Quarter, chasing the remnants of Wanda's vision. When she spotted one of the men she'd seen in her trance, the team gave chase through narrow alleyways until the Wasp brought him down. Under interrogation, the man confessed one thing, a location. They called it the Dead Swamp. As the team approached, Scarlet Witch heard a whisper, a call, and to their horror, Wonder Man began to move once again. His eyes lifeless, his stride rigid. He was being drawn to his master's voice. The Avengers burst into a clearing filled with chanting cultists and firelight. At the head of all of this was Black Talon. He stood before them, commanding the resurrected Wonder Man like a puppet. The Avengers didn't sit idly by and quickly attacked. But when the tide looked to be turning toward the Avengers' way, Black Talon did not sit by. Black Talon called upon the Loa, the serpent god Dambalach, for help. And with the infused darkness strength that Dambalach gave as he approached into the swamp, the Black Talon quickly overwhelmed all the other Avengers except one. Only Scarlet Witch stood her ground. With sheer will, she banished the Dark God, shattered Black Talon's control, and saved the Avengers from certain death. The team returned home with an unconscious Wonder Man, no longer a zombie, but not yet whole. And when he finally awoke, something inside him had changed. He was walking, thinking, almost normal, but a haze lingered in his mind. He wandered through the streets of Manhattan like a man half in a dream, until a beam of light struck him. The living laser had found him. and seized control of his mind, turning him once again into a weapon. Beast went looking for his missing friend and found him instead as an enemy. The two clashed across rooftops until eventually Beast subdued him and brought him back to the mansion. Hours later, when Iron Man and Captain America found themselves cornered in a battle, the rest of the Avengers appeared to back up their comrades, with Wonder Man in tow, this time in control, fighting alongside the Avengers. Together with the speedster Wizard, they defeated the unstable powerhouse Nuclo before he could reach catastrophic power levels. Later, the Avengers examined Wonder Man's body and discovered the full truth. His body was no longer human, it had transformed into a unique, superhuman flesh-like substance, sustained by ionic energy rather than blood. Simon Williams was now something beyond human, but that gift came with a curse. Though Wonder Man had returned to life, his memories of death haunted him. He became paralyzed by fear in combat, terrified to die again. Even his near invulnerability couldn't protect him from trauma of his past. For months, he lived at Avengers Mansion as a guest, hesitant to call himself one of them. But that changed when the Avengers faced the godlike power of Korvac. In that moment, when the fate of the universe hung in the balance, Wonder Man fought through his fear. He chose to be brave, to be a hero, and finally, to live up to the name Avenger. And though he prevailed, his past would soon come calling again, in the form of family. The Grim Reaper returned, breaking into Avengers Mansion and holding the team hostage. He demanded to know whether this Wonder Man was truly his brother or just another imitation. After a mock trial, the Reaper accepted that Simon had truly returned to life, but when Wonder Man defended Vision, his other self, the Reaper snapped, calling them both abominations. He tried to kill them both, and once again Simon Williams was forced to fight his own brother to save his friends. He won, but at a cost, because the Grim Reaper could never accept it. To him, both Vision and Wonder Man were monsters wearing his brother's face. And so the legacy of Wonder Man continues, a man reborn through science, magic, and willpower alone. From pawn to martyr to ghost to hero, Simon Williams the Wonder Man had faced death and conquered it, not through power, but through heart.